Hey, what's up guys, welcome back to another episode of the Minecraft Survival Let's Play. So today is episode 50, and I'm sure a lot of you already know this and this is why you're here. But this is the World Tour. I've planned to do this for episode 50 since before I even started the series. So I'm finally going to be doing it, and I know quite a few people have been looking forward to this. So I just want to quickly talk about a couple of things before I get into it. First of all, I'm going to be going through all of the projects and I'm going to talk a little bit about each one of them and even show how some of the projects work. So if you've never seen any of my videos before, you should get a general idea of my plans for the world and my plans for each project and how I built them and how that works. So I'm going to try go into a little bit of detail with every single project I look at in this episode. I'm also going to talk about my future plans for most projects. The other thing I wanted to mention is that I don't do YouTube full time, so I have had this world for 2 years now. I'm 50 episodes in, obviously. But I don't have as much time to spend playing a game as a lot of the big Minecraft YouTubers. So obviously I'm not getting anywhere near as much progress as a lot of those guys are. So I do actually work about 40 hours a week, and then I've got like a social life and stuff as well. So I don't just play Minecraft 24/7 like some people seem to think. So if you compare my 2-year world with a full-time YouTuber's 2-year world, they will have much more progress than I do. Like most of the time I only get an hour or so per day to play the game. Sometimes I'll get more if I've got the day off work and nothing else to do. And then sometimes I won't get to play whatsoever for over a week. So it's kind of random how much time I get to play in the world. So I just wanted to quickly point that out for like any people who haven't viewed my videos before. Even though the world is 2 years old, there's definitely much better worlds out there from people who have had their worlds the same amount of time. So I guess it just makes sense to start the world tour over here at the base. This is like the main part of anyone's world. You settle down, you get a base going, and then you spend most of your time here. So this is my base, and it's actually in 2 separate parts. The first part is the middle, so this is kind of the center of the entire base, where all of the functional stuff goes. And then if I fly up, you can see that the base is built in the middle of an island. So this used to be a jungle island, but I removed all of the trees. I flattened it out a little bit. There's still a lot more terraforming and stuff I need to do around here. But I'm going to count this as the entire base. So the plan is to build a village around here. You can see I've already started little bits up here, which I'll get into. But the main part of the base is the middle circle. But the entire island is going to be the base. So there's going to be a village built up around here over time. The main part of the base is the centre here, and this is just a big circle that I was going to dig down to Bedrock, but then of course the world got updated and Bedrock is now 64 blocks lower, so I don't really know what I'm going to do with the bottom of the base just yet, but I'm sure I can come up with something eventually. But for right now I've got this circle and I've got 5 different floors, and each floor has 4 rooms. You can see I still need to decorate the bottom 3 down here. I've just not got into that yet. And I've only got 5 rooms built up at the moment, so you can see 3 here. And then if I fly over onto this side, you can see there's another 2 over here. So I guess we just start off with the storage room. This is the main part of the base. I'm always in here sorting out all of my items into chests, or getting them out to go and do a project. It was quite early on that I built this, but I made a few changes when the deep slate got added. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with how this room looks overall. I don't know why there's a cobweb in the corner. That's just been there for quite a while. I'm not sure why I put that there. Yeah, this is the main room. I'm always in here just sorting out stuff. And then I've got 3 rooms coming off to the sides. So first of all is a little utility room. This is actually the first ever enchantment table that I crafted on this world, and I've only ever used it once. So I used it to enchant my first ever pickaxe, and then I've never used it since. And then of course I've got a few of the other useful utility items around here, like the anvil and the stone cutter. And then over on this wall, I thought of this quite early on, and it's actually extremely useful. I use this all the time. But these are 9 shulker boxes, and they've got some of the resources that I collect a lot of. So like the stone, the cobblestone, andesite, diorite, and then dirt and stuff at the bottom, and some gravel. So whenever I come back to the base and I've got some of these items, I just go and put them in these shulker boxes, and when the shulker box is full I break it and then put it in the chest over here. So all of this is full of stone. I've got quite a lot of gravel as well. So yeah, this is just a little thing I thought of, and it's actually turned out to be way more useful than I ever imagined it would be. But anyway, on to the next room. This is what I call the checklist room. So my aim for this series is to collect one stack of every single item that you can get in survival Minecraft. And the reason I want to do this is just so I've got an aim for the world. If I started the world and I didn't have any plans or goals, I might have got bored a little bit too easily. So I decided to give myself a challenge, something that's going to take a while, and that's just going to help me stick to the world for longer, and so far it's worked. I've been on the world for 2 years. So I'll go through a few of these chests quickly. So this is just some random blocks that I've got. You can see they're all stacked up to 64. So when the chest is fully completed and I've got a full stack of every item that goes into that chest, I turn the lamps on at the side. So the ones like this, where the lamps are not turned on, it means I've still got a few more items to go. So for this one, I've got the enchantment table, and then the lodestones. And then down here, I don't think I've got too many more items down here. I've got the red sandstone walls, snow, and then sponges, and also the dirt up at the top, the rooted dirt. So a lot of these chests are actually completed at this point. I've put a lot of time into building farms and stuff for these items, and some of them I just have to go around and collect. And then there's some which I'm very close to completing like this. I just need the mansion banners. I'm actually still not entirely sure if they exist. And then over here I just need pig step, and then I can craft these pretty easily once I've got the pig step. So yeah, this is a pretty important room on the world, as it's kind of the entire purpose of this world, to collect a full stack of every single item. And I'll just quickly show the end chests over here. So these are some of the more rare items. So all of the different ores. It's mostly the netherite that is rare in these chests, and then the deep slate emeralds. And then here, this one is literally called rare, because this is some of the rarest items in the game. All of the heads are not actually that hard to get, but the enchanted apples, the hearts of the sea and conduits, the blue axolotl and the baby blue axolotl. And these might actually be the rarest items in the game, the double tall grass and the large ferns. You can only find these in specific village chests, so I don't have too many of those. Yeah, these are some of the rarer items in the game, and these are probably going to be the chests that I complete last. But anyway, moving on to the final room, which is connected to the storage room. This is just a little bedroom. I come in here and sleep all the time. There's not really too much going on. I've got these over here where I just come and stock up on a little bit more food or rockets. I was going to put some XP bottles in the middle one so I could get a little bit of XP to repair my elytra or whatever. But I've just not got around to that yet. I don't have enough XP bottles. I've got a few pets in here. There's a wardrobe. I wanted to do something back here. I could probably expand this as much as I wanted to and build something in there, but I just never got around to that either. Then I've got a little bit of bulk storage in here, so I've got so much stone I don't really know where to put it just yet, so I'm just storing it in here. Same with cobblestone as well. So yeah, there's not really too much going on in there, but it's quite a nice room, I think. And making my way around the top layer, I'll go to the second room here. So this is my challenge room, or that's what I call it. So I asked my followers over on TikTok and then my subs on YouTube just to set me some challenges for the world. And these are where I store all of those challenges. So you can see here, the challenge was to make a shulker box full of golden apples. And I did that. So you can see the date the challenge was set and then the date it got completed. And then I turn the lamp on because the challenge is completed. And it's probably worth mentioning that I did take a big break from the game in 2022. So a lot of these challenges were actually set in 2021. And then I didn't really play a whole lot of the game for a full year. So that's why a lot of them have still not been completed yet. And these challenges are actually pretty difficult. So it's not like I can just go and do them straight away. Like this one, get a shulker box full of diamond blocks. That's going to take probably months of strip mining. Over here is to get 5 naturally spawned pink sheep. Again, you can't just go out and do that. You've got to just spend time on the world and wait for them to spawn. So yeah, these are pretty difficult challenges and I'm hoping to get all of them complete in this series. Making my way around again, this is the nether portal room. So I built this opposite the storage room just so I can come out the storage room and fly straight across into the nether. So it's pretty practical having it here. And I built this a while ago. I did have some wither skeletons in the wall, like the trap there. You can see the black stained glass right there. So they couldn't get out, but they despawned and I just never got them back in. I probably will get them eventually, but I just haven't got round to it yet. That's kind of my problem with a lot of things on this world. I have plans and then I just don't get round to them. There's so many things I want to do and then I don't have time to do them all. But anyway, I've got 2 side rooms in here, just like I do over at the storage room. So the first one is just a little nether wart farm. I come in here, I've got the efficiency or the fortune free hoe above the door. And then it's at the perfect height where I can mine them all and then plant them all with ease. So I stock up on quite a lot of this and I use it for the red nether brick. So yeah, this is quite a useful thing, but I think I need a much bigger nether wart farm. So I'm probably going to build one on the world eventually. But this does the job for now. And making my way over to the other side, this is my potion brewing setup. I didn't want to automate this, so it's all manual. I don't use too many potions anyway, but I didn't really see the point of putting a lot of extra effort into automating this process when you can do it pretty easily just by using the ingredients manually. But I've got all of the ingredients in barrels above the brewing stands. And then over here, I've got a little setup just so I can get some water to fill the water bottles. So it's just a nice little room that I built. And then this is actually very useful. I've not seen anyone else do this, but I've just got a little book and I've put all of the potion brewing recipes in here. So if I ever forget them, instead of looking on Wiki, I can just quickly scroll through the book and I can see the recipes. So I'm not going to go into the nether just yet, but I do have a few projects I want to show in there at some point. But if I just fly over here, this is probably my worst or least favourite part of the world, or at least a base anyway. So this is my smelting system. I put the items in this barrel here, they get filtered out into the furnaces and end up in this barrel over here. But there's just so many issues with it, it doesn't smelt the items fast enough. I'm not a huge fan of how the room looks. I didn't even bother finishing it because I'm pretty sure I'm going to tear all of this out and then redo it. I need a better smelting system, and then I'm going to have to redesign the room. And over here I had a kelp farm, so I was using this to get kelp, making it into dried kelp blocks, and then I was using this as fuel. But this stopped working as well, so that's something else I'm going to have to tear out. So yeah, overall it's my least favourite part of the base, and I'm definitely going to be changing a lot of that. So that's all 4 of the rooms that I've got at the top of the base. And if I fly down to the next level, I've got one more room. So this is where I store all of my dyes. So all of the dyes go into the shulker boxes. I've got quite a lot of each of them. I stocked up on most of the colours. And then if I break through here, I've got a little bit of extra storage. So I've just got some chests and some hoppers that fill up. And if I take any of the dyes, it will refill. I thought I had... Oh yeah, I've got some red here. I don't have much orange, but I've got a lot of most of these colours. So if I ever want to make some concrete or something, so let's say I want some red concrete, I'll just bring some sand and some gravel, get as much dye as I want, make the concrete, and then it will refill. So yeah, another pretty useful room. I do use this quite a lot. And then over here, I've just got some simple flower farms. So this is just to get a little bit of extra dye now and again. So that's all I've got going on in the centre of the base at the moment. There's still a lot more work to do around here. You can see I still need to do the bottom 3 floors. And then I've got plenty more rooms that I need to fill. I've got some ideas for some of these rooms, but other ones I'm not really too sure. There's going to be 20 rooms overall, and I'm going to have to find something for all 20 of them. I'm sure I can think of something, but yeah, I don't really have plans for all of the rooms. One more thing I quickly want to mention is right now it's all just stone bricks, but once I've finished it all and done the other 3 layers, I want to try and get a gradient in here. So I want it to be darker down at the bottom, maybe some black stone or some deep slate, and then I want to make the way up and then get a lighter up at the top. So the stone bricks is probably going to stay at the top, but down at the bottom it's going to be a lot darker, and then it's going to make its way up in a gradient. I think that could look nice, I'm not too sure, but yeah, that is the plan for the centre part of the base. But anyway, moving on, the next thing you'll notice is the beacons around the outside. So this is one of the challenges that I set for myself on this world. I do like to set challenges for myself and get challenges from other people. I just think it makes the world a little bit more interesting, as I've kind of already mentioned. So I want to get one of each type of beacon, I've got the iron one down below hidden away. You can see I've already completed the gold one and the diamond one. The emerald one was very easy, but I don't have the deep slate emerald ore to decorate this just yet. You can see over there I've got the diamonds in the wall. That's what I want to do over here with the emeralds eventually. And over here, by far the hardest one to do is the netherite beacon. So I think there's currently 38 blocks of netherite here. Of course you need 2 stacks and 36 to complete this. A lot of hours have already gone into this project. I think this is about 4 or 5 shulker boxes full of TNT was used to get all of this. So yeah, there's a lot more hours that need to go into this project. And there's no real reason for it, I just want to say that I built a netherite beacon in survival Minecraft. I don't think many people will be able to say that they've done that. To be honest, I don't think too many people can say that they built a diamond beacon in survival Minecraft either. It's definitely more common now than it used to be. But yeah, I don't think too many people put the hours into getting all of these diamonds just to use it for a beacon. There's really no point of this. You could definitely just use iron or gold. It's a lot easier to get. But yeah, it's just a little bit of a flex. Like, oh, I've got all of these diamonds. I can make a beacon out of them. Next up, this isn't really a project, but I've just got some bamboo set up over here. I've been storing it in some shulker boxes in this chest. I'm just ready for when 1.20 comes out so I can get all of the blocks straight away. I do want to build a bamboo farm somewhere on the world, but yeah, I've just not got round to it yet. So if anyone was wondering why I've got all of this bamboo over here, that's why. And then over here, this is where my village begins. So of course my plans for the base is to have an entire village surrounding the centre of the base. And this is the beginnings of that. It's not really connected at the moment, like if I fly up here. It's kind of just separate projects at this point. But I'm hoping once I start building more houses and stuff around here, and just other small things, it's all going to come together and actually look like a proper village. So over here at the little farm area that I've got, this little house was the first thing that I built as part of the village. So I built the house, it's not really too big, I'll just quickly fly over here. And then I got some little wheat fields outside, some horses at the side. I'm not sure why he's standing up there. But I was actually quite happy with this house. I'm not a big builder or anything like that. And I tried to get as much little details in here as I could. And that looks a little bit weird for some reason. But yeah, I've got an upstairs and I'm pretty happy with the interior. I'm usually pretty terrible at this. And this, like I said, was the first little house I built as part of the village. And I was pretty happy with how it turned out. I've got a docks area back here where I do want to build a boat somewhere in the water close by. Then I can go back here to the horses as well. Then I can walk around this side towards where the path is. So even though this is only a little project, I put a lot of hours into this. Like just designing this took me a long time. I'm really not the best at this stuff. But I was very happy with the outcome. Then a few months later I built the rest of the farm. So that house was by itself for a long time until I actually built the rest of the farm. So you can see I've got a few more wheat fields there. And then I've got all of the animal pens over on this side. 2 silos, I'm still not sure if I actually like these, but they're staying there for now. And then of course the big barn I'm standing on, this is like the main part of the farm area. You can actually go inside, there's some pigs inside. And I was going to do some storage up top, but like so many other things, I've just not got round to this yet. The next thing I built after I built the farmhouse originally was this lighthouse over here. And I actually put so much time into all of the terraforming around this, it's quite embarrassing, it took me so long. But yeah, I've got a little island just for the lighthouse if I fly up a little bit. And I've done all the way around the outside with some rocks and leaves. I've got a little custom tree that I was never really too happy with, but it's just kind of stayed there. And yeah, this is a pretty nice project, I enjoyed working on this. And unfortunately I've not done the inside just yet, but I've got 5 floors or 5 levels that I could decorate eventually. I've just not got around to that again. And the final part of the village that I've built is this little house, and then I've got 2 hot air balloons up in the sky. So there's not really too much going on in the house. I did actually do the interior. I don't know if I showed this on camera, but I've got a little bit going on here. I think I do need to add a rug into the floor. And then finally, like I said, is the hot air balloons up here. This is quite a recent addition. I've built 2 of them, so a blue and then a magenta one. I do plan to build many more of these, like around the base. So of course I've got the centre of the base, and then I'm going to build a full village around the outside. But I also want to have a lot of vehicles like ships and some submarines, planes, helicopters, hot air balloons, all of those kind of things like surrounding the base as well. Even though it's not technically part of the base, I'm still going to kind of count it as the base. So I think I might need to get a little bit of a move on here, otherwise this video is going to be about 4 hours long. But next up I have the strip mine. So this is underneath the lighthouse. I built this after the 1.19 update, or whichever update it was where the world generation changed. I think it was 1.18. So this goes all of the way down to the best level for mining diamonds, which, well, I do it at -58, some people say -59. But yeah, this is just a strip mine. I go down these tunnels, and I actually dug down most of these tunnels for 1 hour, because I did an episode of the Let's Play where I strip mined for 24 hours. So I went down 24 of these tunnels for 1 hour each, and then I showed all the loot that I managed to get. So that was quite a fun episode to record actually, but this is my little storage room. Not really too much going on. I've got a little bit of stuff down here that I actually forgot about, so I might take this back up to the base at some point. And I think you'll notice as I go through the world tour, if you've not seen my build style before, or you've not seen too many of my videos, I tend to keep a lot of the stuff symmetrical. I don't really know why. I try to get out of that trend, but I always just seem to make my build symmetrical. This is the first of quite a few that you'll see like that. The next thing I want to show is just round the back of the lighthouse. This is a little cove that I built when I did the terraforming for the lighthouse. And then I've got this raft at the back, and this was actually inspired by Grian's barge in Hermitcraft Season 7. Like right at the start, he had a tiny little barge and he was selling some items. And then of course he built it up over time. But that's kind of inspired by that. And then I actually forgot about this, but I'll head down here quickly. I never finished this project, and I really do want to finish it. But this was for the World Cup, the 2022 World Cup. I'm quite a big football fan. I'm from the UK. Football's big over here. And I built a little wall chart within Minecraft with all of the different nations that were taking part in the World Cup. So you can see that I've put the banners in order of how the groups finished. And you can see this is the round of 16 games. And then there's the quarterfinals. So this is Netherlands, Argentina, and then Croatia against Brazil. The semi-final, Argentina against Croatia, and then of course Argentina got to the final against France. So yeah, this was just a nice little fun project that I did. I didn't really show it too much in a video. I think it maybe got like 2 minutes of screen time. I never got around to finishing it, so hopefully I can do that at some point. But yeah, that is the wall chart project. And I think I'm going to make that into a little bit of a trend on the world. Every time there's an international football tournament, I'll do a little wall chart for it. So that's the first one, but hopefully I can get quite a few more of those done on this world. But anyway, the final thing I think that I want to show from around the base is this thing over here. This is a little, I forgot what these are called, coral fans and coral something. So it's just a little farm I built. I followed a tutorial, I can't remember who built it, but I actually need to get the hoe. So I sit in here, it goes back side to side like this, and then I just mine all of the coral. I needed this to check off the checklist. Of course I'm getting a stack of each item, and this is how I got the coral. So it's not something I really put too much time into showing in videos, but it was quite useful, and it's definitely going to get destroyed because I've got plans to build here eventually. That's everything from around the base that I wanted to show, so I'm going to head into the Nether now. There's just one little tip that I've kind of got here. So behind the Nether portal I've got this shulker box, and it's got a load of fire resistance potions in. So every time I go into the Nether I get a fire resistance potion, and then when I come back out I put it back in the shulker box, and it just keeps me safe in the Nether. But anyway, this is my Nether hub. This is actually the first ever time I've put some effort into making a Nether hub. I've never done this previously on any other worlds, and I'm pretty glad I did this. It's a project I've wanted to do for a long time. It took me ages to actually get round to it, and I do like how it turned out again. So I've built this up near the top of the Nether. You can see the roof up here with the bedrock, and that's just so it's easier to make tunnels. So each of these sides, or two of these sides here, go off into some little tunnels, and then each of these have room for 10 extra tunnels, which are going to go to different projects around the world. Some of them do actually go places already, like this one here goes to the hostile mob farm. But this one over here is the only one that I've actually made a tunnel for, like I've actually decorated this tunnel. So as you can see, this goes to the Froglight farm, and I might as well get in here and go and show you it. So the plan is actually to build a tunnel going to each of the projects, and I'm going to have a minecart rail like this. But I think it's actually going to be way faster just to fly through these tunnels. So I don't think I'm going to be using the minecart too often, otherwise it's just going to slow me down. But this is the Froglight farm. I built this inside a bastion because there is a magma spawner at the bottom. And I just designed this myself quickly, it wasn't too difficult. But I should get some magma creams or magma cubes spawning in here like this. And then the bigger ones and the medium sized ones are killed by the powdered snow. So they are turned into the smallest version of the magma cubes. And I assume everyone does know this, but if anyone doesn't know, the frogs will attack the smaller magma cubes. Then depending on which colour frog kills it, will depend on which colour frog light it drops. So you can get 3 different colours, and this is how I farm them. I've got a little bit of storage around the back here, so I can get the magma creams, and then of course all of the different colours of frog lights. So this is definitely more frog lights than I'll probably ever need. But I do use this farm to get magma creams more than anything. It's useful for magma blocks. And of course a little AFK spot is right here. I built this not too long after the 1.19 update came out when the frogs were added. And the hardest part was digging out all of the black stone from inside the bastion, so I'm just left with the outer shell. It took quite a few days of just grinding away, clearing all of this out. And I got attacked quite a lot during the process as well. Yeah, another fun project, I quite like this. It was definitely different. Like we'd never really seen any game mechanics like this where if a mob eats another mob, it drops a specific item. So it's just a nice little fun feature, and it was definitely different, and that's why I wanted to build one of these farms. But anyway, back to the Nether Hub. So as I mentioned, this is the only tunnel that I've actually decorated at the moment. But I do want to decorate all of these different tunnels going to the different projects around the world. And I want to try and keep them on theme. So like the tunnel that goes to my end portal, I will use end bricks and purple blocks. The one that goes to the Guardian farm, I'll use prismarine. So yeah, it just keeps them on brand with the farm or the project that it goes towards. Back into the main part of the Nether Hub. Over on the gold side over here, I've got the piglin bartering setup. It's pretty simple. There's 6 piglins, 3 on each side. I can turn the lever on and it will start dispensing some gold from the chest up above. And then the piglin will drop an item. It will go into the hopper underneath the carpet. Once the item is out of the hopper, it will dispense another bit of gold. So it will just keep giving gold over and over until there's no more left. And I do actually use this quite a lot. I get a lot of useful items, obviously, like the blackstone and the gravel. Obsidian is quite nice that you can finally farm this after so many years. But the main thing I want from this farm is the quartz. I can get quartz blocks from villagers, but I can't get these regular quartz unless I go mining for it in the Nether. So it's very useful that I can get this just by trading a little bit of gold. But yeah, everyone knows how useful piglin bartering can be. And for some reason, I keep saving all of the soul speed free books. I don't even use this on my armour, like you can see my enchantments there. I don't use it, so I don't know why I've stored so many. But I'm just going to save them until I've got 3 double chests, and then I'll probably start throwing them away. I've also got plenty of gold backed up over here, and I've got some hoppers running under these stairs going into the shulker box. So every time I take some out, that just restocks. And you'll see how I get all of my gold a little bit later on in the tour. So that's all I've got going on in the Nether Hub. So I've got these 2 tunnels to the side, which are going to go to all of my different projects. And then I've got the bartering farm over here. I've got this redstone side, and I really don't know what to do here just yet. So I've not got round to that. But if I go through the portal and actually down here, I've got a few more things that I want to show. First of all, I'll go right down to the bottom. And this is where I do all of my mining for netherite. So this is my current mine. I go in this direction. I use TNT. It's definitely the best method. Some people say I should use beds, but I'm pretty advanced on the world. I've got plenty of TNT, so I do prefer to use that. And the way I do this is I mine a few hundred blocks in that direction. I come back and place TNT every 2 or 3 blocks, and I blow it up, remove any lava, and then mine the ancient debris. So this is how I'm getting my netherite beacon, and also how I'm getting all of the other netherite on the world. But if I go through this little gap here, this was my original netherite mine. It goes in the opposite direction. The reason I discontinued this one is because I built the nether hub, and obviously that lines up with here, so it made sense to start one going in the opposite direction. I have spent a lot of time down in these netherite mines over the time on the world, and I just thought I'd show that off quickly. But next up, I can go out into the actual nether. So I don't have too much out here, but I've got one project that I want to show, and that is my wither skeleton farm. It's far from finished. I started this a long time ago. There's still a lot more hours that need to go into this project. I'm not sure what he was doing. But yeah, this is the wither skeleton farm. The main farm is here, but I am making a big perimeter around the outside. The wither skeletons spawn on these blocks here where the wither rose is. For some reason the glass stops pigmen from spawning. I don't know the mechanics behind that. But the wither skeletons see the piglin, I think this is, and then they walk off the edge, go down there and die. So yeah, it's a long way away from being completed. I've got a little killing chamber down here. I do want to use a trident killer eventually. I've got a lot more plans for this area, but at the moment I can't really do much because I need to keep digging. There's a lot more digging I need to do before I can get on with the rest of the plans. But you can see the wither skeleton spawn there, and he dropped down. And this is where all of the storage is at the moment, so I'm smelting down all of the netherrack to turn into nether brick, and then red nether bricks. There's a little bit more storage over here. And kind of a fun fact, this is actually the first nether fortress that I found on this world. So if you look back at some of my first videos at the start of this Let's Play, a lot of the clips, or pretty much all of the clips from the nether fortresses when I'm getting the wither skulls, are all recorded in this nether fortress. That's all I've got to show in the nether. Like I said, there's really not too much down there. Most of my stuff is in the overworld. But there's one more thing that I forgot to show in the base. So this is my map of the island before I started building the base. And then this is an updated map. You can see the beacons and the main base there, and the stuff I've built around it. So I've got a few of these from various stages, but this is just like the first one, and then the current one that I've got. I think I've got like 3 or 4 in between stages as well. And I do want to make one of these rooms in the base into a museum, and I want to have these maps on display, just so you can see the progress of the base over time. So you can see the comparison from how it started and then how it's looking currently. It doesn't really look like I've done too much, but I have put a lot of hours into it so far, and there's definitely a lot more work to go. But if I just fly up here, we can go and look at some other projects around the world that are not part of the base. So I'll start off to the north over here. This is the closest thing that I've got. So this was the original strip mine that I built. I built this in episode 1, right at the start of the world. I did come back and I tried decorating a little bit, but it's actually a lot uglier than I remember. I actually thought this looked quite nice back then, but it doesn't. This was like 2 years ago, so I'd like to think my building has improved quite a lot since then. But this was the original strip mine at Y level 11. This is where we used to mine for diamonds before the world generation changed. And as I mentioned with the other strip mine, I did an episode where I mined for 24 hours. I did the same thing here, but only for 12 hours. So I would have spent 1 hour digging in a straight line down each of these tunnels. And then at the end of the episode, I showed all of the resources that I managed to get. So this was how I got stocked up on all of the diamond and redstone and other resources right at the start of the world. Because I'm pretty sure I did this quite early on in like episode 4, maybe episode 5. So yeah, this is one of my first ever projects on the world. I never got around to finishing it, and it's actually very ugly, and I'll probably never finish it now. And if I fly a bit more to the north, there is my original villager setup. And I've actually still got a few villagers here, I forgot about these. But I set this up just to get some of the enchantments that I needed. So some of the more useful ones: Unbreaking, Silk Touch, Thorns, Mending, Fortune, Efficiency, Power, Sharpness, Protection, and Looting. So those were like the original enchantments that I needed. So I got a villager for each of them. And then over here, I just had a few extra ones. I think these ones sold me some diamond tools, and then some stonesmiths over here, which sold me quartz. I did move some of these villagers over to the new trading hall, which I'll show in a second. But then all of the ones that I didn't need, I just killed. So I'm probably going to kill the rest of these as well, like that are over here. I don't need these ones anymore. And then remove all of this stuff. It's just quite ugly really. It was only meant to be a temporary setup right at the start. And then here I've got 2 villager breeders that I've been using to get all of the villagers. And this is the entrance to the new trading hall. I've not finished this yet. I think I want to build a guardian around here, so I go into a guardian's mouth or something, and then that's how I get down to the farm. And I've kept the rails here, and I'll talk about that a little bit more in a second. So here is the new villager setup, and you can see there's quite a lot of villagers in here. I think there's 78 overall or something along those lines. And I've got some pretty useful ones in here. So up at the top on the left, I've got pretty much all of the useful book trades. Like if you can think of a book trade that you would want to use on your tools, I've probably got it here. And then down at the bottom, I've got all of the stonemasons. And this was definitely the longest part of this entire project. It took so long to get all of these in here. So I wanted to get one with each of the different colours of terracotta. So of course each stonemason has a terracotta trade, and it's either a regular terracotta or the glazed version. So there's 32 different options, and I wanted to get one with each of the different types of regular terracotta. So white, light grey, grey, with all of these 16 different colours. And it took me so long to actually get all of these in. I killed so many of them. It was just such a pain. But eventually I did manage to get all 16 of the different colours. There's this guy in the corner with the sea and terracotta, which is, it's actually the last one that I managed to get, but I think it's the nicest out of all of the different colours. So I can actually get a lot of useful items from these guys. All of the enchanted books, I can get the glass from the librarians, and then I can get all the different colours of terracotta, and then the quartz as well. So very useful villagers over there. And I've also got some pretty useful ones over on the other side as well. I'm not going to go into detail of all of the different trades that I managed to get. If anyone is more interested, you can always go and watch the original video where I finished this project. But I've got some farmers down below, and then I've got these guys up here so I can get all of the different types of diamond armor and then the diamond tools as well. And you can see that a lot of these are down to 1 emerald per trade, and that's because I did a little bit of converting with a zombie down here. However, it didn't convert all of them down to 1 emerald. Like, I should be able to find one here. Like this one here is 29 emeralds and a book for protection 4, I think this one is, or fire protection 4. I can fix that though, and I think I will do it eventually. What I've got to do is convert every single villager individually. It's going to take a lot of time, because like I said, that it's about 80 villagers in here. But that is definitely something I want to do eventually, even though there's no real purpose for it. I don't need to do it. But I do want to do it just so I've got the cheapest possible trades. And over here I can get a few more tools. There's some pretty useful trades down here from these guys. And then I've got the storage rooms down on each of the sides as well. So this one is where I store all of the armour and the tools, and then the food over on this side. What I do is I store the items in the shulker boxes, and then when the shulker box is full I break it, store it in the barrel above, and then I replace the shulker box. So you can see I've got quite a few of these tools. All of these are full of diamond axes. I'm never ever going to need this many, but I'm kind of a little bit of a hoarder on this game. I try to get a lot of each different type of item, even if I'm never going to use it. Like my food of choice on this world is golden carrots, but I'm stocking up on a load of chicken and all of the other foods. I'm never going to use them. If anyone joins the world, they can take them, but I'm never going to use them myself. And then over on the other side, this is where I store all of the enchanted books. So you can see Silk Touch, Fortune, Looting. This isn't actually every single book trade I can get from these villagers, but it's just the ones that I wanted to store down here, and I kind of run out of room. So some of the more useless ones that I don't use as often, I didn't bother making storage room for those ones. You can see here at the end are kind of the most useful ones. The Unbreaking 3, Mending, and then Efficiency 5. So I'm at that point on my world where I don't really enchant things too often, or I don't need to. I did all of my enchanting early on, But yeah, I do still just store all of these just in case I ever need them for anything. And then down below here is the final storage room of this little project. So I store all of the blocks down here, including all of the different colours of terracotta. And then down here is where I store all of the items that I can get from the various villager trades. And the reason why I kept all of these rails here is because I'm going to have to bring a zombie down here at some point to convert all of the villagers again. So I thought I might as well just leave this in here, and then I'm more likely to actually do that project. So yeah, that's something I'm going to be doing in the future. Next up in the world tour, I'm over here where my ice farm is, and it actually just started snowing as I started recording. But I built this a while ago now, I can't remember what episode it was. So I've never actually used this farm before because when I was building it, I removed so many icebergs, I think you'd call these, that I got plenty of ice and it just meant that I never needed to use this farm. But the way it works is I remove all of the ice like this, and then all of these stairs are waterlogged, so it produces source blocks in the middle. Then over time it turns back to ice, as you can see happening here. So yeah, I built 100 of these sections overall. I think this is a 10 by 10 grid, and then I just never bothered to use it. But this was the only project I had over here really, and then I decided to build this over here, and I don't really know what I was thinking when I built this thing. I never finished it. I still don't know if I like it or if I'm going to tear it down. But this was just like a way to get to my end portal. So, well, I always come to the end through the nether, which is just down here. Again, I didn't even bother decorating inside this. I'm not sure what I was thinking. I really don't know with some of these projects on the world. But I built this just to surround the end portal to have a way up and down. So this is the way down. And I'm not going to lie, this is extremely ugly as well. So I always come through the nether portal when I come here. And then I'm always greeted with this, and it always reminds me that I really need to sort this out. But if I go through here, I'm actually quite happy with this part of the project. So this is my end portal. And of course, this is like a mini version of the end islands. Now I can't take credit for this. I actually saw a picture of this on Reddit or something like that. And then I just it kind of stuck in my memory for a while. And then eventually when I wanted to do it myself, I couldn't find the picture again. But this is what I came up with. It's not like an exact replica, but it's not my idea either. But I do like how this one looks. And then I can go through into the portal if I could actually land in it. And there's really not anything going on in the end. I've got one project which I will show. It's just through that portal over there. But over here is where I kill the wither. It actually got patched, but I used to kill the wither here. You could trap it underneath the portal with some obsidian, and it was just like an easy kill. Like, it took about 10 or 15 seconds per wither. But that got patched, it doesn't work anymore, and I've not killed it for quite a while now. If anyone here plays Bedrock, you know how hard the wither is to kill. So now I can't cheese it under the portal. I don't really kill it anymore. I'm sure there is other ways to do it. I've just not searched it up because I don't need any beacons at the moment. But I will go through this portal over here because there's one other project that I've got in the end. So I think it's just in this direction. It's not far away. It's right here. And this is actually maybe like top 5 most useful farms that I've built. Maybe even top 3. So I use so many shulker boxes for storage on this world for pretty much all of my different farms and my main storage. I'm always using shulker boxes. And when I realised that you could actually farm these, I can't remember when this got added to the game, I pretty much just dropped everything and I went to build this straight away. It's such a simple design, and the way it works is the shulkers try to attack the golems, but for some reason they attack themselves, so then it duplicates this shulker. It's like some weird game mechanics. When the shulkers take damage, they duplicate themselves. But yeah, I've got 5 of these little modules. Each time a shulker dies, there's a chance it will drop 1 or 2 shells. And I actually cleared this out not too long ago. But I used this a few times. I stocked up on so many shulker shells that I'll probably never need to stay AFK here again. Then I just kind of left the project and I don't really come over here too often. If anyone's on Bedrock Edition and you want a really simple shulker shell farm, I think this one was a tutorial by Silent Whisper. I left a link in the description when I built this in a video. It's extremely easy to build. The only really difficult part is getting the shulkers in, but even that isn't too difficult if you know what you're doing. And it's definitely worth building, like one of the most useful farms you could probably have on a world. And I was just thinking actually that I feel like everyone always builds an Enderman farm in the end at some point, but I just never did that, and I probably never will at this point. I get all of my XP from a gold farm, which I'm going to show pretty soon, and then I get ender pearls from piglin bartering, so I don't really have any use for an Enderman farm at this point. I feel like that's kind of more of an early game kind of XP farm. And talking about the XP farm that I use, I'm sure a lot of you have noticed the 2,500 levels at the bottom of the screen. And I get accused of cheating quite a lot over on TikTok. It's not so bad over on YouTube, because I do obviously show all of my progress and stuff over here. But this is my gold farm. It produces a lot of gold and a lot of XP. I'm not going to turn it on, but there's 4 trident killers up here, so I might as well quickly show this. Actually, I wasn't gonna, but if I turn it on, you can see that the portals start turning on and off. So every time the portal turns on, there's a high chance that a pigman will spawn, and then the portals are as big as possible. So if it's turning on and off like this constantly, you get a lot of pigmen, and they're pretty good for XP, so overall you get a lot of XP from this. And I'm going to turn it off quickly because it is very loud. But this was designed by Navy Nexus. A lot of people ask me about this, especially over on TikTok. I definitely recommend building it if you're maybe mid-game. I actually built this pretty early game because I wanted gold, and I built it on a previous world, so I knew it was pretty easy to build. But yeah, this is how I get all of my XP. I did originally build it just to get the gold, but someone set me a challenge to get 10,000 levels of XP on this world. So I do use it a lot now just to get the XP. If I come down to the storage room, I've got more gold than I could probably ever use. So all of these are full of gold blocks over on this side, and then over here. And all of these are full of gold blocks up to this chest right here. So is that 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, about 20 double chests of gold blocks. And that's just the gold that I've got over here. I've got more over at the base, and then where the piglin bartering setup is. So for anyone who was wondering about the high level, this is the reason why. There's not really too much point of having a lot of levels. Like once you've got all of your enchanted gear and stuff, it becomes kind of pointless. That's why the XP just stocks up over time. But I am trying to get to 10,000 levels, which explains the 2,500 that I've got at the moment. But anyway, not too far away from the gold farm. The gold farm's just over there, out of render distance. I have the farming district. This is one of my favourite projects on the world. So of course the name kind of gives it away. This is where I build all of my farms. So I say all of my farms, but I don't build all of them over here, of course, because the gold farm's over there, and I've got a few other farms around the world that are not here. But all of the ones that I can build here, I usually do. I do sacrifice the efficiency of some of these farms and go for looks instead. So I try to make all the farms look nice instead of just going for pure efficiency. So this is a single player world. I don't need an insane amount of every single item. So that is the reason I try and just make this place look nice instead of just going all out efficiency. So there's quite a few different farms here, and I'll quickly go through all of them. So we'll start off in this corner and then just make my way around. This is a sweet berry farm. There's not really any use for sweet berries. You can eat them, you can kind of use them for decoration, but it's not really too much use. It's a simple enough farm with a few bushes in there, and then the fox picks them. They get picked up by a minecart and get placed into the chest. Next up is my wood farm. So this isn't automated or anything, it's just kind of where I get all of my wood. So I've got the saplings down here, I plant them in the middle, I grow them with bone meal, and then I just mine all of the wood. Everything will get picked up by the hoppers and then go into the chest. Pretty simple setup, but it's extremely useful. I'm always using this to get more spruce wood more than anything else. To the side of this is a little rabbit farm. So I get some carrots out of the back chest, I climb up to the top, I breed all of the rabbits, and then when they grow up I can open the trapdoors here. That one must not have grown up yet. and then I can just kill them. There's actually a few that haven't grown up. I usually leave it, but I just bred them not long before I started. And I actually just broke that bit of glass there as well. It happens sometimes because of the haste beacon. But yeah, this is not really a farm I use too often. I just used it to get the rabbit and the rabbit's feet to check off the checklist. Of course, I need a stack of each item. This helped with that, and now I don't really use it anymore. To the side of this is a little nano farm. Very simple. I just fill these with bone meal, I turn it on, I plant the seeds, it grows them and then destroys them with the water. It's useful for getting the wheat, potatoes, carrots and beetroot. That's pretty much all that's used for. Next up is the cocoa bean farm. So I get some cocoa beans out of the chest, I plant them, it grows them with the dispensers, and then it breaks them by pulling the block with a sticky piston, and then they all go into the chest down below. Pretty simple farm. I used that to get a load of brown dye when I was building that dye room over in the base. Next to this is one of my favourite farms in this area. So this is my chorus fruit farm, and I've actually just harvested this not that long ago, so you can see it growing, but I'll quickly show you how it works. So I get a bow from the chest, and then I get usually 2 stacks of arrows. I come down into the farm, and then I go around the top and I break a load of the flowers like this. So I use all 2 stacks of the arrows that I pick up. So I'm quickly just going to go around and I'm going to break 2 stacks of these flowers at the top. Once I've shot all of the arrows, I can come over here and I can press the button. And you just got to imagine that all of these are fully grown. It's actually quite satisfying to watch. It's not as satisfying at the moment because most of these are not even half grown yet. It pushes all of the items down to the bottom. So all of the flowers and then all of the chorus fruit. And if you look just at the bottom there, you can see a little bit of hoppers sticking out at the bottom of the wall. So all of the items are pushed into those hoppers. And then they go to a little bit of redstone down below, which I won't show here. But I can decide if I want the popped chorus fruit or the regular chorus fruit. So at the moment I want the popped chorus fruit because I can turn it into the purple blocks, and this is where it all gets stored. So the popped on this side, the regular stuff on this side, and then the flowers over here. And I actually need to get 63 of these because I need to go and replant the farm. So I can come up here, I can push the button once it's all been flushed down to the bottom, and then if I jump down I can start replanting it once the water's all disappeared. So I can just replant it like this on top of all of the endstone blocks, and it takes exactly 63 of them. I'm really happy with how this whole project turned out. I really like how the walls look. There's not really too much going on, but I really like how there's a little bit of detail going on in the walls. I really like up at the top here. That's how I get out, by the way. I just like fly up and usually bang my head on the stairs or something. But yeah, you can see out above it's starting to rain. I was going to do something around here. So you can see I've got a pattern around the outside, and you might have just heard the dog in the background there. I've got this pattern going around the outside, but it kind of didn't line up with the middle, so I built these rooms here at each side, and then I just never got on to doing anything with this. I couldn't really think of anything to do, so I've just left that for now. Maybe I'll come back. I feel like I say that a lot, like maybe I'll come back to this project. But yeah, I just wasn't sure what to do there, so I never did anything. Next up is the cactus farm. I feel like these designs have been around since the start of Minecraft. Like, I remember building these back in 2011 and stuff. Like, there's really not too much going on. The cactus grow, they get broken by the fence gates, drop down into some water, and then go into the chest down here. I built this because I needed a lot of green dye. I kind of went on a mission to get all of the different colours of dye. So I built it pretty close to when I built the cocoa bean farm over there. So it's a pretty basic build, but it's been pretty useful so far. And next to the cactus farm, I've actually got a pink sheep that's trapped. So when I was building this thing, I just saw a pink sheep and I quickly just got some blocks together and trapped it in here. And as you saw over at the base in my challenge room, I do have a challenge to collect 5 of these. And this is the one and the only that I've ever found on this world. I've had the world for almost 2 years and I've only found one of these. I feel like that's extremely unlucky. I feel like there's people who have a world for 10 minutes and find one of these. So I can't believe I've only ever found one. I did actually find a second one over at the gold farm, but it was just some pink wool on the floor next to some raw mutton, so a wolf found it before I did. So yeah, this is the only one like living pink sheep that I've ever found. Making my way around, the next farm is the axolotl. Yeah, it looks kind of weird from the outside, but if I go down, I have 16 different little breeding chambers for the axolotls, and I go around every now and again and I breed all of them up, and the aim was to get the rare blue axolotl, and I've not shown this on camera yet. If you watch my TikToks you will have seen this, but I did actually manage to find one. So a bucket of baby blue axolotl. I'll quickly show that on screen right now. It didn't actually take me as long as it should have done. I think the chances are 1 in 1,200 that you get the rare blue one. And I'd say I probably bred about 100 to 150 of these overall. So I actually got quite lucky. I got it pretty easily. And I don't know if it's more likely to get another one of these if you already have one of them and then you breed it with another axolotl. But I'm going to get onto that in a future episode of the Let's Play. I hope everyone enjoys the sound of my voice because I have been doing a lot of talking in this episode. But as I mentioned at the start, I just want to go into a little bit of detail and talk about each project, just in case someone's new to my channel, they've never seen any of these projects before, just so they can get like a rough idea of how everything works. But anyway, next up is my record disc farm. So this is a creeper farm. There's 4 different platforms where creepers can spawn. And I use a tinted glass just so I could see through here. But if I drop down, you can see where the creepers fall down to. So I think it's like a 20 block drop and it leaves the creepers on one hit like this. So for anyone who doesn't know, there's a feature in Minecraft where if a skeleton kills a creeper, it can drop a record disc, or it does drop a record disc every time. So the way the farm worked is the creepers would fall down here, they would be one shot, and then I would flick this lever, it would open up that wall, and then there used to be a skeleton in there, but he despawned at some point, and I just never got him back in there. But you can see that I stocked up on all of the different records over here anyway, so there wasn't really any need to get another skeleton in place. But if I ever want more record discs for whatever reason, I can always get another skeleton in there, and then I can get them. And I did try and light up the area a little bit around here just to increase the spawns. The spawn rates really aren't that great, but it does the job, and I got all of the records that I needed. But anyway, moving on to the next project, this is my basalt farm. I kind of went a little bit overkill on this, I really didn't need to do this, but I wanted the basalt and I decided to make it into a kind of a big project, or much bigger than it needed to be anyway. So it's just a simple basalt generator. I break it, it regenerates, it goes down into the chest, and then I've got a little bit of storage over here. Well, it's actually quite a lot of storage over here on the sides. It's not really a farm that I use too often, but it's just useful to have it here. And I do actually plan to try and build a farm for every single farmable item in this game. So I was going to have to build it eventually anyway. And I just thought I'd quickly mention, I've got these side chambers here. I was going to trap some nether mobs in there, like some striders or pigmen maybe, but that's just something I never actually got round to doing. Next up is the honey farm, and you'll see a theme with this area where it's kind of obvious what the project is just by looking at it. So you can look at something and you instantly know what the farm is for. And this is kind of like the main one there, like you look at this and you instantly know exactly what this is for. So I will show you the farms first and then the storage room. So up here, you can actually go inside of the bees. So I've got 3 of them overall, but only 2 of them have farms inside. This is where I get the bottles of honey. And this one was actually a lot more complicated than the honeycomb one. So it took a long time. There's quite a lot of redstone stuffed in the back of this. And yeah, it took me a while to work that one out. But then if I just fly upwards to the other bee, this one is the honeycomb. And obviously this one was the easier of the 2. There's not as much redstone. You can see there's much more room in here left over. So this one produces the honeycomb. And then I did actually build the 3rd bee for no real reason. I just wanted to have a 3rd one down here. But that one's completely empty inside. But I can go into the storage room. And then I've got the bottles which get stored over here, the honeycomb on this side, and then I craft them into blocks and then store them in the middle. So yeah, this is the honey farm, and upstairs there's just a little bit of water. So the items drop down, they fall into the water streams and then go into the chest down below. And I actually saw a honey bottle on the edge there. I'm not sure how that happened. It's landed on top of the hive. So it does happen sometimes. I was going to use some hoppers to catch the items instead, but I'm not really too bothered about a little bit of loss now and again. Next to the honey farm we have the pumpkin and the melon farm, and then the sheep one trapped in between that. So the pumpkin and melon, it's just the exact same farm, but obviously this one's got the pumpkins and it's got the orange theme, and this one's got the melons with the green theme. So it's pretty simple. It uses observers to detect when something grows. So when the stem updates, it will update and then update the piston. All of the items will drop on top of the grass, and then a minecart hopper goes underneath and picks all of the items up. These were pretty simple projects. They didn't take too much planning or anything like that, but I do like how they look, and I actually don't really use too many pumpkins or melons, but I get plenty of them. I stock up on them all the time. But anyway, next up is a sheep farm, so I get all of the different colours of wool. You can see here I've got 4 slots for each different coloured sheep. However, only 2 of them are full at the moment. So when I first built this, it was pretty early on in the world because I needed wool for a few different projects. I built 4 for each different coloured sheep, and I put 4 in here. But anyway, there was a little bit of a bug on Bedrock a while ago where all entities and mobs and stuff despawned. So all of the sheep I had in here just completely disappeared. And it took me a long time before I finally got some back in here. But I decided just to get 2. I didn't really need 4, it was a little bit overkill really. So 2 is plenty. So I've got 2 of each of the different colours. And then I can head down to the storage room, which is just inside the sheep's mouth here. So I've got the sheep's head, and then I go inside. And it's pretty obvious where all of the different colours are getting stored. Like if you want green wool, you go to the green area. If you want blue wool, you go to the blue area. And there's about 2 double chests of each different colour at the moment. And I do use this for some pixel art, which I'm going to get to a little bit later in the episode. There's not really too much more to show in this area, but I'm quickly going to try and get through it. So first of all is a slime farm. This is just very basic. There's really not too much going on that you've not seen before. I get plenty of slime balls from this. I crafted a load of them into slime blocks, but I don't actually use slime blocks for anything. Like, I use the occasional sticky piston and stuff, but I really don't need that many slime blocks. You see there's even more up here, more back at the base. This was one of the first projects that I did in this area. So every time I'm around here, I'm always getting more slime, and I really just don't need it at this point. And for anyone wondering how it works, these slimes will spawn in the stone bricks. These are 2 slime chunks next to each other. And then they will get attracted to the golems in the walls. They will bounce over, they will die, and then the items get picked up by some minecart hoppers. Another project I built pretty early on in the world was the sugarcane farm over here. Obviously you need sugarcane kind of early on for rockets. So I get plenty from this. This is a single player world. I don't need a whole lot of rockets to myself, but this has produced plenty over the time I've had the world. And then it is actually broke on this side. I noticed this earlier and I didn't have time to fix it. But the problem is that Endermen occasionally come in here and pick up a piece of sand, and I don't know how it happens, but an Enderman must have picked up a piece of sand. It's kind of destroyed the rails underneath. This was one of the earlier farms that I had on the world. And I do actually have another sugarcane farm, and I'm going to get to that right now. So this is my skin. I built a big version of my skin. You can see I did this pretty recently actually, and it's because I had an idea. Well, I've always wanted to build my skin on this world. It's just kind of one of the things I knew I was going to do a long time ago. And I thought this was like the perfect area to build it in. It kind of just fits in with the rest of the builds. And I wasn't sure what I would do inside it. But then I thought of the idea that I could have a farming bunker. So if I head down here, I do actually take damage at the bottom. Like, I've got some hay underneath the carpet, I've got the water, and I still take damage. I need to find a way to stop that. Yeah, this is my farming bunker. And this was one of my most recent projects. And the idea is just to have some of the more micro farms that I don't want to build up above. So this one here is for glow lichen. I can just get some shears out and then I can break this. I would get the glow lichen and then it would grow back. And then I would store it up there. On the other side, I've got some hanging roots. So again, I would turn it on, I would break it with some shears and then it would keep growing back. I don't really need hanging roots for anything, but I collected a little bit. And then this is the other sugarcane farm that I was talking about. And of course, there's slimes in here all the time. It is a slime chunk somewhere. I don't really know how to fix that without making the place look ugly. So this is a Bedrock exclusive sugarcane farm, because on Bedrock Edition you can use bone meal to grow sugarcane. So it's pretty simple. There's some bone meal in the dispensers, it grows it, it destroys it, and all the sugarcane goes into the chest down below. Like I said, you can't do this on Java, you can only do this on Bedrock Edition. It is a pretty useful feature to have if you've got like a lot of bone meal and you need a lot of sugarcane fast. It's very useful to have that. And then the other farm, or the last farm that I've got in this area, is actually a 2-in-1. So it's a bone meal farm. If I turn it on, you can see it in action. It grows the moss, and then the moss can get converted straight to bone meal, and then it gets stored over here. Or I can switch it to moss like this, and then I get all of the moss blocks instead. So the azalea and the flowered azalea, and then the moss blocks. I didn't bother saving the grass and the moss carpets, they can just get composted and get a bit of extra bone meal. It's just a little farm, but it's quite useful. I do need a lot of moss for a project in the future. And there's actually a lot more going on behind the scenes than you probably think. I spent a long time on all of the redstone and then sorting out the filters and stuff. If anyone watched that episode, you'll see it in a little bit more detail. But it looks like it's quite a small, compact farm, but there is a lot going on behind the scenes. I did try experimenting a little bit with this project and going for a new colour palette that I wouldn't usually use. And I want to try and do this more often from now on. Just try and pick colour palettes that I'm not used to using, just so I get more variation around the world. So I do like this colour palette and I'm happy with the project overall. There's still a lot more room for a lot more farms over time, and I can always move the walls back as well if I want extra room. So that is all of the farms that I've got in the farming district. There's a couple of other ones around the outside I'll get onto, but I just realised that I didn't actually explain the concept of this area. So I built this in a 128 by 128 within a map. So a Minecraft map is 128 blocks by 128 blocks. And the idea of the entire area is that I stand AFK right here. This is the very centre of the entire district. And then all of the farms will work at the same time. So I stand here AFK and all of the farms that are automated will automatically produce items while I'm standing there. Of course there's a few like the chorus fruit farm and then the cocoa bean farm that don't work unless I interact with them. But a lot of these farms will just produce items just while I'm standing in the area. And if I go down here to the AFK spot, I can go down again. And this is the entrance to the farming district. I come through the nether portal. And then I've got a little bit of storage for all of the different items. And again, I store them in shulker boxes, and then I store them in the chest after the shulker box is full. So you'll notice all of the farms have a little bit of storage each, but this is where I store them in bulk. So I do have a decent amount of most of these items at this point. Even though I don't really need them, I might as well just stock up on them. And I've actually got a little bit of map art over here. So this is the map of the area. This is the complete up-to-date map with all of the different farms that I've got. And then this one here is the map art project, which I'm sure a lot of people have seen before. I do post this on TikTok a lot. And I'm quickly going to fly out and I will show you this project. So it's just underneath the farming district, just over here. The reason I built it here is because I wanted it to be close to the wool farm. So if I ever need any wool to do one of these little pixel art things, I can just go over there and get it from the wool farm. And then it's easy enough just to come over here and do it. If anyone hasn't seen this project before, I just kind of get ideas from TikTok comments. People will suggest a nation or something I can do in an 8x8 area. And I come over here and then I make it. So if I fly over to where the map is, or I think I've actually got a map down here, you can see all of the different ones that I've got so far. So you might recognise some of these. There's Grian, like at the bottom in the middle, and then Mumbo above him. There's a pink sheep in there, a few different coloured sheep actually. There's a few other hermits, Stampy and Squid, so you can have a look through this, you probably recognise quite a few of these. And the plan is to fill this entire area with a bunch of these. I think there's like 256 overall or something like that. I actually forgot the exact number, but I can fit quite a few of them in this area. Just to the side of the farming district, I've got one other farm over here. And I didn't want to build it inside the farming district because I think it's quite ugly and there's not really any way to make this look nice. But basically, this is a phantom farm or a phantom membrane farm. I stand here in the middle, there is a cat down below. And when it's night time and I've got loads of phantoms that spawn, they will come over here, they will go to attack me or the player which is stood here. And then they will get scared by the cat. For some reason, phantoms and creepers are scared of cats. So they fly straight upwards and then they get stuck in this little area. I press this button, it gets them all down to 1 health or 1 shot, and then I can just like jump and hit them, and then I can get the phantom membranes. It's a pretty simple farm. I feel like not many people even bother building a phantom membrane farm. But I needed a lot of them for, mostly to check off the checklist. I needed a full stack to add to that. But I also needed to craft some potions and stuff, so I decided to spend a little bit of time and I made a farm for it. And if I fly straight over the farming district to the other side, I have, I think, the first ever project I did on this world. And this is my raid farm. I've got the villager outpost, or the pillager outpost even. And I built this raid farm very, very early on in the world. I think it was the 2nd episode. I didn't even have my elytra yet. I still had iron armor, I believe. But I really wanted to get this done because I wanted to get on with the villager trading like I showed at the start. I had that little villager set up and I really needed the emeralds, so this is a way I chose to get them. So it is just a very basic design because, like I said, I did build it very early on in the world. I didn't really have the best gear at the time. It didn't take too long to build. I think I might have come back to it a little bit later and added a little bit of extra storage. And I actually just started a raid somehow. Oh no, I didn't start a raid. It's because I must have left the trident killer on in there, so I've just got the bad omen effect. I think I can just go turn this off. I must have left it on the last time I used the farm. So I'll turn that off and then I need to go find some milk. I kinda lost track of what I was saying there, but this was a very useful farm to have early on in the world. I got all of the emeralds that I needed for villager trading, I got a little bit of XP, and then I got quite a few different useful items as well. I'm going to kill this guy and get bad omen again, and then I need to go get some more milk. But yeah, I got all of the totems. I've got so many of these. I took most of them back over to the base. And then I got a bunch of different enchanted books. I didn't really need these because I got all of my enchanted books from the villagers. But it's still kind of useful just to get a bunch of these. And then I also got a few useful witch drops and stuff like the redstone, glowstone. I think there's something else. I used to get a load of saddles from this, but it doesn't drop them anymore for some reason. But yeah, it was a very, very useful farm early doors. Very simple to build as well. I built it in episode 2, so I didn't need too many resources or anything like that. And if anyone's early game, I would definitely recommend one of these. Moving on just to the side is actually another project that I started very early on in the world. I think I started this in episode 3, maybe episode 4. I didn't get it finished for quite a while after that because it was just taking too many resources. But this is my hostile mob farm. And the reason I built it so early on is because of the gunpowder. I really needed that for rockets, and then I wanted to start netherite mining and stuff. So the way this farm works is there is 10 platforms on each side. So you can kind of see the bottom view here. You can't see the top ones quite as clear. But they all have trapdoors on the side. So the mobs spawn in there because it's so dark, and then they see the trapdoors as a full block. They walk off. They fall down below, they die on top of the magma blocks, and then the items get picked up and stored away. And the reason I use the magma blocks is just in case any of the mobs survive the drop, they get killed by the magma. This was a big project overall. It actually took me a long time before I came back and fully completed it. I started off by building, I think, 2 of these sections here, and then I came back eventually and built the other 2. And then eventually I finally came back and I did the storage room. And this is how the storage room ended up. So I'm getting plenty of stuff from these. I get so much string, I get the witch drops over here. The gunpowder is the main thing, of course. I get so much of this. I'm always using this for TNT and for rockets. I get some more of the witch drops over here. And then I get plenty of bones, which again is so useful. It was more useful early on in the world, but I was always using bone meal for different farms, and I get plenty of it from this thing. And then I did actually stock up on so much of this, but I've used it over time. I think I got to like this chest full of bone blocks, but now I've only got one full double chest of them. Like, I just use so much of it for different projects that I've just worn it down over time. And then to the side here, I have the way up to the AFK spot. So right here is like the center of the entire project. I stand AFK usually overnight, and then I come back in the morning, and it produces roughly, I think, 2.5 to 3 full double chests of gunpowder overnight, which for a single player world is a lot, but because I use so much of it for TNT, for netherite mining, I do actually need that much. And I've seen a few people recently saying that they're going to build this farm, or they're in the middle of building it. And it is kind of more of a late game farm to build. I built mine early game, but I'd definitely say it's like worth the build. It's a lot of effort, a lot of resources, but you get so much out of it. I'm pretty happy with the design. I came up with it myself, and it's one of my favourite projects on the world. And moving on to the next project, it's actually not that far away. So there's the farming district there, the raid farm, and then the hostile mob farm. And then just to give you kind of an idea of where things are in the world, I just fly this way a little bit, I get to the ocean, and then you can see the big project coming into view right now. So I'm sure a lot of you have already seen this. It's one of my most recent projects. I posted it over on TikTok, and it's one of my most viewed videos. This is definitely the biggest project I've ever done in survival that I've managed to complete. And for anyone who hasn't seen this, it is my quad iron farm, which surrounds my guardian farm. So I have 4 iron farms, one in each of the corner. They are 100 blocks apart, so that means all of them can work at the same time if I stand in the center AFK spot. And the AFK spot is just up here inside the guardian's head. So I come in here, and right here is the center of the entire project. So this is where I stand AFK. And when I started the project, the plan was to stand here so I could get all of the guardian drops, like the prismarine and the crystals. And then I was hoping I could get all of the iron drops at the same time. However, there's something I kind of overlooked. So I can only use this guardian farm if my simulation chunks are on 4. And I can only get the iron in render distance at the same time if my simulation distance is on 8 or above. So I actually can't use both at the same time, which is kind of a little bit of a downer. I really hoped that I could use them both at the same time. But it's not really a huge deal. I can get the guardian drops when I want them, and then I can get all of the iron when I want that. So I just need to decide which drops I want, and then I switch my simulation distance to the required amount, and then I stay AFK. So yeah, it's a pretty big project overall, definitely the biggest I've done in survival. There was a lot of hours that went into this. Even just draining all of the ocean, that was at least 20 or 30 hours. And I wasn't really sure where I was going to go with the project. I just knew that I wanted to have the iron farms in the corners. So I planned out how big it was going to be. And then I just started digging, and then I did a little bit more digging. I thought I'd do the biomes around the outside, so I did that. I'm happy with all of that. And then I actually moved the monument because it wasn't centered, so I had to move it back by a few blocks. So it's definitely the biggest project that I've got on the world at the moment, and I'd also say it's my favourite project on the world. And that's just because it's such a big project. I think I managed to make it all look nice, and it's also very functional. I get all the prismarine drops, which is some of my favourite drops for the sea lanterns. I can also get XP from the guardian farm. And then I get all of the iron drops, which again are very useful to have. And I just thought it's quickly worth mentioning that when I first started building this, I also planned to have another 4 iron farms up in the sky. So I would have had 8 overall, which I did on a previous world. But I just couldn't manage to get it to work for some reason, and I decided that 4 is enough anyway. I don't really need the extra 4. And I'm happy with how the project turned out. And the final part of this project is the storage room in here. So all of this is automated. The items come from up above, and then the iron drops come from down below, and I get all of the storage in here. So that's most of the stuff that comes from the iron farms, and then all of the prismarine drops and stuff over on this side. So I get plenty of these. It's more than I could probably ever use already. I've stocked up on plenty of the sea lanterns and the prismarine. I've got like quite a few shulker boxes full of iron at this point. I've got one over here, and then I've got like 4 or 5 over at the base, which again, that's probably more iron than I could probably ever use on this world. And it's probably also worth mentioning that originally when I built the Guardian farm, it was very early on in the world. I built it in probably the first 10 episodes because I wanted all of the drops to get the prismarine. Well, the sea lanterns is what I wanted the most. So I built the Guardian farm. It was very simple. And then I just left the project for about a year and a half before I finally came back to it. And then I finished it all off by building iron farms and decorating the whole place. So between starting the project and then fully completing it, there was actually well over a year that passed. But anyway, I'm going to move on from this project because I've shown it pretty recently anyway. And if I just fly down here, it's not too far and it should come into render distance. Here is my squid farm. And this really didn't get much screen time in my episode. I think I showed it for a little bit at the start of an episode. But when I built the room in my base where I store all of the dyes, I needed a lot of black dye and I decided to design my own squid farm. So I built this, and it was actually way too efficient. I've got so much black dye down at the base, I could never ever even possibly use that much. And then I've also got a load of ink sacs over here. I just don't know what to do with it all. So I built this squid farm, I stayed AFK for one night, right here, and then I've never needed to use it again since. So the way it works is you can actually see here, the squid spawn, and then they get dragged down instantly by the magma blocks. And then the magma blocks do damage to the squids. And then underneath, I've got some minecart hoppers that go around and pick up all of the ink sacs. I kind of wish I spent a little bit more time building this farm for an episode, but I just kind of rushed it and did it in between episodes. It's quite expensive, it uses a lot of powered rails, magma blocks, and it was not too difficult to build, but getting all the water in place while the magma blocks were there was kind of hard. But I really do wish that I put more time into recording this for an episode, because it's extremely efficient. I don't think there's many more efficient ink sac farms, especially on Bedrock Edition. But I did have a little bit of a problem where some of the minecarts were stopping underneath on the tracks. And I don't know if those minecarts just disappeared or if they started moving around again. But I can't see them anywhere, so something must have happened to them. But as I mentioned, I just get so much ink from this farm that I don't even use it anymore. That's how efficient it was. I needed to have one AFK session and that was it. I've never needed it since. And I've got more ink than I could ever even possibly use. But anyway, if I fly down here, and I think if I go in this direction, I come to the base again. So the base is just here. And there's not really too much more else that I've got to show now. So I'm just going to quickly sleep. And I think there's 2 or 3 more projects. So now I'm going to fly down to the south, which is just over where my coral fan farm is. And then just over this coral reef, there should be a little building in the woods. So it shouldn't take too long to get there. So it should be just over here, right there. It's a tiny little building and it probably looks like there's not too much going on. And I guess there's not really too much going on. But if I go inside and drop down, this is my flower farm. So I've actually used this recently and that's why I've got some of these on there. But this is the flower farm. I wanted to get a few of the different colours of flower. Again, I built this when I built the squid farm because I needed the different colours of dye. So this produces grey dye, blue, red and yellow. This is the flower farm here. I think it's actually empty. I used all of the bone meal from it. But I got the flower farm on this side and then on the other side. And then over here I've got, it's the exact same farm, but these ones produce the nether items. So this is the, I forgot what it's called. I think this is warped and then this is crimson. So I can get all of the fungus and the other things that they drop, like the roots. So the warped roots and then the fungus. It was kind of a pain to build this thing. It wasn't really difficult, but I kept changing my mind of how I wanted it to work. So I dug out a load of space, if I just go behind here. I dug out a load of space that I didn't even need in the end. and there's a load more space over on the other side. And it just kind of became a little bit of a mess. I wasn't sure what I was doing, and I dug out more space. I didn't need that, and yeah, it became a little bit messy in the end. But I am happy with the final outcome. It's pretty useful. I get a load of these useful items from it to get all of the dyes, and then I get the warped stuff on the other side, plenty of seeds, and then plenty of bone meal as well. So it was only supposed to be a little project, but it ended up taking a lot longer than I originally planned. And flying about 2,000 blocks away from the base now, there is something else that I want to show that's not really a project, but I feel like it is quite important to the world. So this is the desert that I decided to destroy to get all of the sand. So of course I use a lot of sand for TNT. I used to collect all of this for glass, but now I can get that from the villagers. And this is just kind of all of the stuff that I've demolished over here. And then I've kind of continued it a little bit just over here as well, where this beacon is. So yeah, this is where I do all of my demolition. I'm like 2,000 blocks away from the base. I didn't really want to destroy the desert that's right next to all of my farms and stuff. And this was the closest one that I could find, which wasn't that one. And then it's also near, I think you call this a Badlands. So I get all of my terracotta from over here as well. I actually completely forgot that I had this beacon over here. But yeah, I did just want to show this quickly. It's not a project or something that I've built, but it is pretty important to the world because I get a lot of resources from over here. And the next thing I've got to show here is a very unfinished project, but I've put a lot of hours into this one. And this is my witch farm. So I've got the witch hut here. I get all of the drops down at the bottom. It's a pretty simple design. So the witches spawn on that block, they get pushed across by the glass, and then they fall down and die. And then I've got the storage down at the bottom here. So I don't really get too much at the moment because I've not finished the farm yet. There's still a lot more hours that need to go into this, but I've been digging out a perimeter around the outside. I actually want to make this perimeter a little bit bigger as well, and I want to add a trident killer and stuff at the bottom. There's still a lot more stuff that needs to go into this, so I don't want to talk about it too much. You can't really build any good copper farms on Bedrock Edition, they're just not that efficient. So I started digging this project out so I could get a lot of copper. So I've got all of this in here, and then I've got a shulker box full of raw copper blocks in there as well. So because I am on Bedrock Edition, you actually don't need to do this and spend all of this time digging out the space for the perimeter around the outside, but I just wanted to do it. I needed the copper, and then I also think it's going to look pretty good when I'm done. But I don't really want to talk too much about this because there's so many more hours that need to go into this before it's even ready to showcase that there's no point of talking too much about it. That's finally all of the projects that I've got around the world that I want to show. It took me a couple of hours to get through all of that, and my voice is actually starting to hurt when I talk. But I just want to quickly show a few more things. So I want to do an ender chest tour quickly. So in my ender chest I've got all of these shulker boxes, and I just want to show everything that is inside these. And I was just thinking that it would be interesting to do one of these every time I do a world tour, and just compare like how my world changes in between like 50 episodes, and then see how my ender chest setup changes in between that time as well. So the next world tour I'm going to be doing is episode 100. So I'll have another look in my ender chest at that point, and we'll see how much it changes. So these are all of the stuff that has items in within my ender chest. We have the valuables here. I do have quite a lot of diamonds, but I don't have any netherite in the ender chest because it's all gone towards the netherite beacon. Next up is redstone. Pretty self-explanatory, just all of my redstone supplies. I've got a bunch of elytra and spare shulker shells in here. And then all of my netherite tools. So I'm trying to turn all of my spare tools into netherite because when the 1.20 update comes out, it's going to be harder to do that. In here is where I keep all of my spare rockets. So more netherite tools. These are fortune, all of these ones were silk touch. These are just random useful items that I carry around the world with me. My AFK gear, so when I stay AFK at the farm, usually the gold farm, it's starting to rain. I've managed to get through all of this episode without the rain. But yeah, I just use this gear, so just in case I do die while I'm AFK, I'm not losing my netherite armor. Some more tools over here, which I'm going to be turning to netherite. Some wither skulls. Then over here, this is kind of like the main thing I wanted to show. So these are all of my trophies from the time on the world. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm going to be building a museum somewhere in the base, and I'm going to have the maps down there on display. I also want to have some of these items on display, like my first ever diamond. That's definitely something that will go on display down there. My first ever wither skeleton skull, that's probably going to go down there. My first ever pickaxe, I feel like you kind of need to keep that. A lot of people don't, but I think you need to keep that on the world. And then the original dragon egg. I do actually have 2 of these. On Bedrock Edition you can get 2. So this was the original one which I kept. My first ever diamond tools, first ever netherite and stuff. Okay, that's not good. But anyway, I also got the first ever enchanted apple. I really need to light up around here. I'm on episode 50 now and I've still not lit the place up. So that shouldn't be too hard to fix. There's just a few blocks missing up there. I'll do that once I've stopped recording. But there's one more thing that I quickly want to do, and that is I want to set some goals. So I did a world tour at episode 25. I'm doing one at episode 50 for today. And then I'm going to do one every 50 episodes from now on. So like I said, the next one will be on episode 100. If the world actually makes it that far, there's still a chance it gets corrupted like my other worlds. And then one for 150, 200 and so on. So I want to set myself some goals that I want to complete before episode 100. And I've actually wrote them down here. So the first one, I want to have 75% base progression. So right now, if I look at the base, this includes the middle and then the island around the outside. I want to get this to 75% completion. I'd say right now it's probably about 5 to 10% completed. There's still a lot more work to do around here and then also down at the bottom of the base here. So I want to try and get that to 75% or at least about that point by episode 100. So there's going to be a lot of buildings around here. I need to finish the bottom and then get some rooms at the bottom of the base. So that's one of the goals that I want to do. The second one is to complete the netherite beacon. Pretty self-explanatory really. I have the netherite beacon here. I've got 38 blocks out of 164. I want to get this fully completed before episode 100. Number 3, I want to finish the witch farm. And I've actually just remembered I completely forgot to show the witch farm. So it's about 2,000 blocks in this direction. I'm quickly going to head over there. Through the power of editing, I'm just going to show the clip of me showing the witch farm a little bit earlier on in the video. I feel like a few people might click off once I get back to the base, so it probably makes sense to show it a little bit earlier before that point. But anyway, the third point was to finish the witch farm. I do want to get that project completed before episode 100. And also the wither skeleton farm, which I showed earlier. I want to get that finished before episode 100 as well. The fifth point is to complete the checklist. So complete checklist, not the last 2 chests. So I want to get the checklist completely finished, apart from these chests at the end, because these are just going to take so much time to get all of the extra netherite blocks here. And then a lot of these items are pretty rare to get, like the especially the grass at the end here. So I want to try and get all of these chests completed on the sides, but I probably won't get to these 2. But I want to try and do that before episode 100 as well. And then the last point, get 5,000 levels of XP. So you can see I'm 2,500 at the bottom. It's pretty simple. I want to get to 5,000 before episode 100. So you might think that I'm halfway there because I'm obviously 2,500 is half of 5,000. But the way XP works in this game, the higher level you get, the harder it is to get to the next level. So I'm probably not even like a 10th of the way to level 5,000 at this point. But that is another goal that I've set for myself before I get to episode 100. So I'm going to leave this book somewhere and I'm going to come back to it the next time I do a world tour and I'm going to see if I actually manage to complete all of these things. But anyway, I think that is everything that I had to show. I don't think I forgot anything, but if I did, I'm going to come back, record it and then I'll put it in the video somewhere. I'm pretty sure I have remembered everything, I just forgot about the witch farm. And my throat is really hurting at this point, you might even be able to hear it in my voice. I don't think I've ever done this much speaking in like a couple of hours. I'm going to try and not make this video too long. I aim to get it about 1 hour and a half. Hopefully I can like get it a little bit shorter than that, but there is a lot of footage to show. There's quite a lot of projects on this world. I didn't quite think I had so many, but I do hope everyone enjoyed. It was quite fun just to go around all of my projects. Some of these I've not been to for quite a while. Some of them you might not have ever seen in a video before. So I hope you all enjoyed the video, and I will see you all next time.